On the phone, we have former Chicago Cub, St. Louis Cardinal, New York Met. How do you say Koshien Tiger, George Altman? How you doing, Mr. Altman?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
How do you pronounce that team from Japan?
Hanshin.
Where is that?
That's in the Osaka area. Yeah, but I also played 7 years with a team out of Tokyo. At first, it was the Tokyo Orions, and then another gum company bought the team, and it would turn out to be Lotte, L-O-T-T-E, the Lotte Orions.
So you started off your big league career playing for a team owned by a gum company, or the guy who owned the gum company, Wrigley.
Right.
So there's some sort of gum connection here, I suppose.
Yeah, they kind of followed me a little bit there. Yeah.
Now, what was it like making it to the big leagues? What was your minor league experience like?
Well, I didn't have that much of experience. As a matter of fact, I was really green because I was more of a basketball player. I played 4 years of college basketball at Tennessee State University, and we only had a baseball team my last 2 years. And due to the weather, we only played maybe 10, 12 games. So when I signed with the Kansas City Monarchs, I was just, green. So I was 1 year, actually a few months with the Kansas City Monarchs, and then signed with the Cubs for 2 minor league seasons, actually 1.5 because I was in the Army for half the season. And so when I came to the big leagues, I was really green and just really excited and just happy to be there, And I remember when I was with the Monarchs, we stopped by Wrigley Field on the day that Ernie Banks, I think, hit his record-setting Cub 6 Grand Slam home runs in the season, I believe. And that was a great thrill for me to watch that history being made.
Now, who was on the Monarchs when you were on them?
Buck O'Neill was the manager.
Okay.
And Lou Johnson, who, signed with, as a matter of fact, Lou Johnson and J.C. Hartman and myself signed with the Cubs at the time. And both of those players made the major leagues. Johnson primarily with the Cubs, but also with the Dodgers, and J.C. Hartman with the Houston Astros.
If it wasn't for Buck O'Neill, the Cubs wouldn't have had any talent there in the late 50s, early 60s. It was you and Ernie he brought over, and Billy Williams?
Gene Baker?
Yeah. And a little later on was Carter. He signed several other players, So he was a great scout, great manager. And, I joined the club, Kansas City Monarchs, in 1955, and Buck must have been 42, 44 years old, and he was still playing part-time. And at that time, to me, he was still the best ball player on this club.
Did you ever get to face Satchel Paige or anybody like that?
I didn't face Satchel, but Satchel played with us in 55. He came out of retirement to pitch, and he was still effective, and that was in 1955. He had that great control, and he knew how to pitch.
You were with the Cubs, during that college of coaches?
Yes.
Why did they ever give Buck O'Neill a chance to be the manager?
I don't know, but to me, Buck was the best manager. As a matter of fact, he was probably qualified more than all of them because he had the experience and he had the knowledge, and he was just enthusiastic. He would have, I think he would have made the best manager that the Cubs had during that area. But all the other coaches got a chance to coach except Buck, and we were really disappointed about that.
So you and Lou Brock were in the same outfield, correct?
Yes, for a while, yes.
Well, what was
Lou
that?
Brock and Billy Williams. We had some good players there. They were Hall of Fame guys there, like right now, Sano, Williams, Banks, Brock, and we had some good players. It just we needed a little bit more pitching, I think, and some good managing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pitching, you were in the field for that Don Cardwell no-hitter and made a pretty good defensive play, correct?
Well, yeah, it was something that, that the pitcher's pitching a no-hitter, so you are really alert, and you say, well, if they hit this ball in my direction, I'm going to do my best to make a play. And just so happens that Carl Sawatsky hit a line drive out into right center field, and I happened to go back up against the wall and use my basketball skills to jump up and make a catch. And that was a great thrill for me. And the very next play, I believe Moose Morin made a shoestring catch to end it. Yeah,
that's the play everybody talks about nowadays, Moose and all that. But if you hadn't made your catch, his would have been insignificant.
Well, yes, I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and Cardwell pitched a terrific game that day, because Cardinals had a terrific offense, and to shut those guys out and then pitch a no-hitter against them, that was a tremendous feat.
You had a pretty good feat, too, with the 2 home runs off Sandy Koufax in the game.
Well, yeah, that was in Coliseum down in Los Angeles, and Koufax is, I don't know how I did that, but I know that that's something you don't do every day. He's the only guy, to me, it seems like, that he can throw overhand around, fastball around your knees, and it rises. I mean, he was that fast and had that kind of spin on the ball. Wow. Great pitcher, and I was just lucky, I believe, that day.
Well, I can't imagine that there are too many left-handed hitters who hit 1 home run off of Sandy Koufax in their career, much less to have 2 in 1 game.
Well, I kind of looked it up. According to the records there, I was probably the only left-hand hitter to do that. I think Felipe Alou was the only right-hand hitter, so it was 2 of us that hit 2 home runs off of him in 1 game. Felipe Alou and myself.
How did you end up going over to Japan? Because back then there weren't many U.S. players playing over there.
No. I had some injury problems and so forth, and they asked me, I think in 1967, since I was sitting around on the bench and I knew I could still play, and so they asked me, to go to the minor leagues, sort of like a rehab situation. So I went to the minor league, and Gene Stevens, and we had 2 guys on our team that had played in Japan. And I talked with them, and they were talking about the opportunities over there. And so when I came back to the Cubs, when I was in AAA, I did pretty good. As a matter of fact, did very well. So when I came back to the Cubs, I didn't get a chance to play again. Again, they sat me on the bench for about 4 or 5 weeks, just pinch hitting, and so I was upset about that. So I said, okay, I'm not going back to the minor leagues. I'm going over to Japan and see, where I am in my career. And so when I went over there, and the thing with me in the major leagues, I was, I guess I couldn't say damaged goods, but I had played so much basketball. It's really grueling and bad knees, and we were like gym rats playing every day. So anyway, I kept getting recurring injuries, hamstrings and shoulders and things. But when I went to Japan, I found out that I wasn't in enough physical condition. I wasn't in a real good shape. And I went through their kamikaze training over there, and I was able to play like 8 years straight without any major injuries. And that was really the reason I had such a good career over there.
Now, did you get the nickname Daddy Longlegs over in Japan also?
Oh, yes. They called me Daddy Longlegs, and a lot of times I would, in the streets kind of draw a crowd, people looking, and, they're always comparing heights and everything. And it was a thrill. It was a great experience for me. I learned a lot of humility because there were so many people, and a lot of times you had to stand in long lines, for services, and so you learn humility and patience, and that was an experience for me at bat also, because the strike zone over there was pretty complicated. So you had to have a lot of patience, and when you got your pitch, you better hit it, otherwise you're in trouble.
How did you communicate with your teammates?
I took a course from Berlitz before I went over there, and that helped me out a lot. But it was just a situation where, you had to learn. And actually, we had a lot of teammates that was studying English also. So, and then we had an interpreter also, who Wale Yanamini, who it was from Hawaii and a former San Francisco Giants football player. Not Giant, but 49ers. He had played 1 or 2 seasons with the 49ers, and he went over to Japan and had just about a Hall of Fame career over there. So he was our interpreter.
Now, you made the 1961 All-Star team. Will you be going to the 2012 game?
Yes. We have been invited. When I say we, that means the Negro League players that played in the Major League All-Star games, in the previous All-Star games, who have been invited as the guests of Major League Baseball to go to the 2012 All-Star games. So that's a great thrill for me. I think there are 7 of us left. It would be Ernie Banks and Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Monty Irvin, and Minoso. So it would be a great thrill just to be in the company of those guys. I mean, I don't know how I got in that group, but anyway, it was just great to be with those guys.
Is there something that says, if I had a little bit better chance here or there, or if I'd been able to be a little healthier, I could have been at that level of play as a Monty Irvin, as a Hank Aaron. Maybe not as elevated as Hank Aaron, but a multi-time All-Star.
Well, probably not, because of the fact I got started late. Most of those guys, started, out of high school or that. I had 4 years in college and 2 years in the Army, and so I was like 26 years old when I, made the major leagues. So I had to try to learn on the job, while most of the guys learn early, like 17, 18, 19, when they're at their peak. I think also, but as your point, I think I would have been a lot better off if I had been in better shape, or if I didn't get those injuries. Of course, injuries happen to all of the players, but the thing, like today, the guys have terrific equipment. They have better coaching. They have nutritionists and chiropractors. They have all the weights. They have everything going for them. So I think if we would have had those type of things, a lot of us would put up a lot better numbers.
You mean Yosh Kawano didn't do all that for you when he was with the Cubs?
No, Yosh was diligent about the socks that we wore. We had those we would call them ankle busters. Those socks that come down around your ankles while the other teams were wearing high stirrups, But Yost made sure that we didn't, cut the stirrups or anything like that. Once if you did it, the next day you come in your locker, they're gone. You got this, you're right back there. And it was said that that Mr. Wrigley wanted us to be a little more traditional, and that's what Yost did. So he was a good trainer.
Could Sandro O have played in the major leagues?
Definitely so. This guy was one of the best hitters that I'd ever seen. I mean, he had left-handers, right-handers, and he had that great eye and great concentration. He would have been an all-star.
Any chance we'll ever see you at a Cubs convention?
I don't know. I don't know why.
You're still waiting for the phone call, right?
Kind of, yes. Yeah, I haven't, been to, let's say, worried about it too much because they don't like to travel too much in the wintertime. But if they would call me, I would definitely go.
Is there a reason they haven't called you?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
I know a friend of mine and Billy Williams was really amazed that I hadn't been. So he said he would call Billy, and he called Billy and talked to Billy, and Billy said, "Okay, the next year you're going to be there," and that was 2 years ago. But that's the way things go. I'm still a great Cub fan, true blue. I like the Cardinals, but the Cubs are still my number one team.
I was going to say, you're living in Cardinal country in O'Fallon, right?
Yes. Yeah. Cardinals are a great team, great organization, and they treat their alumni like royalty almost. It's a lot different than the Cubs. And if you play for the Cardinals, you are treated almost like the regular players.
When you were in Japan, did you get a taste for sushi or develop a taste for it?
Not really. We lived around Western hotels mostly, so I had Western fare mostly, and so I just never developed a taste for that. I did like what they call old bento, the box lunches. That was pickled eggs and things like that, and a few shrimp. I like that. We call them old bento. I like that, but I didn't take to the sushi that much.
Or sake?
Sake, no. No. We had one of our late manager he was sort of a wild nutritionist. He had us sampling things like turtle blood and stuff like that, which I didn't participate in, but there's some weird stuff going on over there so far as training.
We got to bring you back for the Cub convention. We got to do an online petition.
All right. Well, I'm here.
What a great guy, Elliott, George Altman.
Definitely.
We got to talk to those people at the Cubs that bring them back. They bring back everybody else, and why not bring one of the former star players back?
I remember when growing up in St. Louis when the Cardinals got him, I thought it was a pretty good acquisition. Not quite in the Lou Brock mold, but not bad.
How many times you could take advantage of the Cubs?
As often as possible.
We had a great show today.
Don't we always?
Oh, I mean, we had the winningest golfer on the LPGA Tour,
Kathy Whitworth.
We also had George Altman and Rory Sievers.
1949 Rookie of the Year in the American League.
I can't wait till next week.
When?
We're going to have Jim Brown and
Jenny Finch.
Thanks for listening to Sports Torts. Stay tuned again next week.